Hi, I'm Jeff Murrow. I want to welcome you to True Texas History, where today we are continuing the series of the filibusters of Texas. Today we're going to be talking about General Jean Joseph Humbert, and there's some more names in there too. But General Humbert was a French officer, and he was quite interesting, colorful if nothing else. And crazy thing is, although in history he looms larger than life, most Texans haven't heard of him. And yet he was a big player at the time. Okay, it's almost like there was this effort to try to minimize or ride out the influence of the French and in both the War of 1812 and the formation of Texas. Well, General Humbert, even before the whole Texas episode started coming about, he led an invasion of Ireland during the Napoleonic Wars. So yes, the French did invade Ireland under General Humbert. And this same general, during the Haiti expedition, he sailed over, and apparently on the same boat was the wife of General Leclerc. And there were rumors that he had an affair with the wife of Leclerc, which raises eyebrows because she was Napoleon's sister. Quite interesting. But make a long story short, and my main focus is on Humbert's involvement in Texas. Humbert, before the Battle of New Orleans, he was raising an army of volunteers to invade Texas and to take it over. Now, part of his plan, there were rumors he had up to 4,000 men, which would have been a sizable amount. Now, in reality, that wasn't the case, but he did find a lot of volunteers there in Louisiana. And it just so happens that in order to finance what was going on, he went ahead and I believe it was Tampico, or one of those ports down there in Mexico. He went down there, sold gunpowder to the Mexicans who were attempting to overthrow the Spanish, and made his way back to Louisiana, of course with the funds from selling the gunpowder. But about that time, the Battle of New Orleans was underway, and also the veterans from the Gutierrez-McGee expedition were coming into Louisiana. So you have several events happening all at once. Now, Humbert was enlisted by the Americans to participate in the Battle of New Orleans. And there was a point where the American line gave way to the British attack, and Humbert was given the responsibility of reorganizing the Americans and fighting back. But before that could happen, the British withdrew, and there was some resentment among the American soldiers about being under a French commander. They did not like it, and they did not want to follow him. Now, after the British withdrew, it was Humbert who was looking at their lines with a telescope, and he told the Americans that the British had withdrawn. They said, how do you know that? He says, because of the crow standing on the figure over there. He saw a crow on some stuffed uniforms in the distance that the Americans had mistaken for British soldiers. But, never hear that story in the history books, do you? Well, Humbert went ahead and started assembling his men. Now, there was also a second French general, General Lalemant, who I'll talk about later. He led the French efforts at the colony of Champ de Isle. But after the Battle of New Orleans, when Lafitte was running into difficulties with the Americans and relocating to Galveston, Humbert went there with him and was given the opportunity to be in command of some vessels, which Humbert went ahead and accepted. Now, Humbert later on, when the Champ des Isles colony was hit by a hurricane, he and Lafitte went there to the colony to rescue the colonists, and Humbert was also very involved in seeing to it that the colonists that wanted to return from Texas to New Orleans were able to secure transportation. Now, although Humbert never invaded Texas, he was here. I mean, the threat of 4,000 Frenchmen coming in, and this was a general that had a reputation for a lot of daring do. He had proven himself on the battlefield, had led an invasion of the English homeland by invading Ireland, which, wow, how could you do that? When somebody like that comes to Texas or comes to Louisiana with a plan to go ahead and invade Texas, it's a bold plan. And, he's just another one of those figures that you don't hear a lot about, but definitely played a role. After the Napoleonic Wars, the aftermath of Napoleon continued to reverberate across the Gulf of Mexico and into Texas. And we will see that when we cover General Lallemande as well. But I hope you enjoyed it, learning about General Humbert and his influence and role in the filibusters of Texas. And of course, along the way, he met the people from Gutierrez, McGee, and some of these others. And that's why the Spanish were so paranoid there in New Orleans, because they knew that people like Humbert, as well as the Gutierrez, McGee people, and relatives of the Wilkinsons and so forth, were all there in one place. And so they had good reason to be concerned. So until next time, this is Jeff Murrah wishing you vaya con Dios, my friends. Goodbye.